Here's the thing. There is an organ inside you right now that performs over 500 separate jobs, never clocks out, and can rebuild itself from a quarter of its original size. And yet most people have no idea what it actually does. That organ is your liver. It sits quietly under your right rib cage, about the size of a football, weighing around 1.5 kilograms. It is the heaviest internal organ in your body, and it is the only one that can regenerate. Cut away 2/3 of it, and within weeks, it grows back, good as new. The ancient Greeks knew this. Chained to a rock while an eagle ate his liver every day, only for it to grow back each night, was not random. They had seen it happen. But regeneration is only the headline. What the liver actually does every second of your life is far more astonishing. Let us start with the blood. Every minute, nearly 1.5 liters of blood flow through your liver. That is roughly a quarter of your entire cardiac output. Your liver has a dual blood supply, which is rare among organs. Most organs get blood from one source. The liver gets it from two. The hepatic artery delivers oxygen-rich blood straight from the heart. That is the fuel line. But the portal vein brings something else entirely. It carries blood that has just passed through your stomach, your intestines, your pancreas, and your spleen. This blood is loaded with everything you have eaten, everything you have absorbed, every nutrient, every sugar. Think of the liver as customs and border control for your bloodstream. Nothing enters your systemic circulation without being checked. Every molecule gets a decision. Let it through, store it for later, transform it into something useful, or mark it for disposal. Inside the liver, this filtering happens inside microscopic hexagonal units called lobules. Picture a honeycomb made of liver cells, each hexagon about 2 millimeters across. At the corners of each hexagon sits a triad of 3 vessels. A branch of the hepatic artery, a branch of the portal vein, and a bile duct. Blood flows from the corners inward toward a central vein, like tributaries feeding a lake. The cells that line these channels are called hepatocytes. You have about 200 billion of them, and they are the true workhorses of the liver. Under a microscope, a hepatocyte looks like a busy factory packed with mitochondria, smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and rough endoplasmic reticulum. First, sugar management. After you eat a meal, your blood glucose rises. Your pancreas releases insulin, and the liver responds by pulling glucose out of the blood and storing it as glycogen. When you have not eaten for a while, when your blood sugar starts to dip, the liver does the reverse. It breaks glycogen back down into glucose and releases it into the bloodstream. And if glycogen stores run low, which happens after a day or so of fasting, the liver can manufacture brand new glucose from scratch using amino acids and other building blocks. This is gluconeogenesis, and it is the reason you can survive for weeks without food. Second, fat metabolism. The liver does not just burn fat for its own energy. It packages fat into lipoproteins and ships them out to the rest of your body. It makes cholesterol, which is essential for every cell membrane and for making hormones like estrogen and testosterone. The liver also converts excess carbohydrates and proteins into fatty acids. When you eat more calories than you need, it is your liver that turns the surplus into fat for storage. Third, protein production. Your liver manufactures almost all the proteins floating in your blood plasma. Albumin, the most abundant protein in your blood, is made entirely by the liver. Albumin acts like a sponge, keeping fluid inside your blood vessels. The liver also makes clotting factors, the proteins that stop you from bleeding to death from a paper cut. People with advanced liver disease bruise easily and bleed excessively because their liver cannot produce these factors fast enough. Fourth, bile production. The liver makes about 1 liter of bile every single day. Bile is a yellow-green fluid stored and concentrated in the gallbladder. When you eat something fatty, the gallbladder squirts bile into your small intestine. Bile acts like a detergent. It breaks large fat globules into tiny droplets so that enzymes can digest them. Without bile, you cannot absorb fats. And without absorbing fats, you cannot absorb the fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. Bile is also how the liver gets rid of bilirubin, the yellow breakdown product of old red blood cells. When your liver cannot process bilirubin, your skin and eyes turn yellow. That is jaundice. Fifth, detoxification. This is the liver function that gets the most attention, and for good reason. Everything you swallow, inhale, or absorb through your skin eventually passes through the liver. Phase 1 uses a family of enzymes called cytochrome P450. These enzymes take a toxic molecule and chemically modify it, often by adding an oxygen atom. Sometimes this makes the molecule less harmful. Sometimes it makes it more reactive to prepare it for phase 2. In phase 2, another set of enzymes attaches a water-soluble tag to the modified toxin. Often this tag is glutathione, or a sulfate group, or glucuronic acid. Once tagged, the toxin becomes water-soluble and can be excreted through urine or bile. This is how your liver handles alcohol, medications, environmental pollutants, and metabolic waste products. It is a chemical processing plant running 24/7. Sixth, immune function. The liver is not just a filter. It is a battlefield. Scattered among the hepatocytes are specialized immune cells called Kupffer cells. They sit on the walls of the liver's blood channels and capture bacteria, viruses, and debris that flow in from the gut. Your gut is full of bacteria, and some of them inevitably leak into the portal blood. The Kupffer cells destroy them before they can cause a systemic infection. Seventh, storage. The liver is your body's pantry. It stores glycogen for quick energy, iron inside ferritin protein shells, copper, and the fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. The liver can hold enough vitamin A to last you several months, and enough vitamin D and B12 to last you years. Now let us talk about the liver's most famous trick, regeneration. Most organs heal with scar tissue. If you cut your skin, you get a scar. If you damage your heart muscle during a heart attack, the dead cells are replaced with fibrous scar that cannot contract. But the liver does not scar. Instead, every mature hepatocyte retains the ability to divide. When liver tissue is lost, the remaining cells sense the gap and start multiplying. Within days, the liver grows back to its original mass. This is not a stem cell trick. The primary mechanism is simple cell division by existing hepatocytes. This process is so precise that the liver stops growing when it reaches exactly the right size for your body, a phenomenon called hepatostat. Scientists still do not fully understand how the liver knows when to stop. But regeneration has its limits. If the liver is damaged repeatedly over years, by alcohol, by hepatitis viruses, by fatty liver disease, the repair process goes wrong. Instead of clean regeneration, the liver starts laying down scar tissue. This is fibrosis. Over time, fibrosis can progress to cirrhosis, where the liver becomes a shrunken, nodular mass of scar that can no longer do its job. At that point, regeneration fails, and the 500 functions of the liver begin to shut down. Fatty liver disease is now the most common liver condition worldwide, affecting roughly 1 in 4 people. It starts when too much fat accumulates inside hepatocytes, usually from excess calories, refined sugar, and a sedentary lifestyle. Early fatty liver is often silent and reversible. Viral hepatitis is another major threat. Hepatitis B and C viruses directly infect hepatocytes and can cause chronic inflammation lasting decades. Hepatitis B is preventable with a vaccine. Hepatitis C is now curable with antiviral drugs. Alcohol is a direct toxin to liver cells. The liver can process about 1 standard drink per hour. Exceed that, and acetaldehyde, a toxic intermediate of alcohol breakdown, builds up and damages hepatocytes. Over years of heavy drinking, the liver swells with fat, becomes inflamed, and eventually scars. Then, there is the silent epidemic of liver cancer. Hepatocellular carcinoma usually arises in a liver that is already cirrhotic, which is why prevention and early detection of chronic liver disease matter so much. But here is the hopeful truth. The liver is forgiving. Lose weight and fatty liver reverses. Stop drinking and early fibrosis can regress. Get treated for hepatitis and inflammation subsides. The liver wants to heal. Given the chance, it will. So how do you take care of this organ that takes care of you? Eat food that looks like food. Move your body. Limit alcohol or avoid it entirely. Get vaccinated against hepatitis. B. Maintain a healthy weight. Drink coffee, which has a genuinely protective effect on the liver. There is a final thought worth sitting with. Your liver has no nerve endings for pain. It can be swollen, inflamed, scarred, and failing, and you will not feel a thing until the damage is advanced. The liver is a silent servant. The ancient Greeks were right to be fascinated by the liver. They believed it was the seat of the soul, the source of emotions and desires. Modern biology has replaced that poetry with biochemistry. But in a way, the liver is still a kind of soul. It is the organ that turns the outside world into you. Everything you eat, drink, and breathe is transformed by the liver into the substance of your body. It is the bridge between the environment and your cells. It is the reason that what you put into your body matters, because your liver will take it, process it, and decide what it becomes. And every single day, without rest, without sensation, without thanks, it rebuilds you from the inside out.